Ready?
Yep.
Hello, everybody. This is made for the stuck at home 48-hour. And sorry about the informality here, but this is no time for ceremony or costuming. I'd just like to share with you my thoughts on the coronavirus events that are going around today. And I think we're all being saturated with all the news, good and bad. We're seeing a lot of bad, people dying. And I think the words of Robert F. Kennedy kind of epitomize some of the valuable things I think we should remember in times like this. Now, Robert F. Kennedy was in Indianapolis April 4th, 1968, when Martin Luther King was assassinated. And in any great speech, it applies to many eras and many ages. So if we substitute some of the bad things that are mentioned in Robert F. Kennedy's speech with some of the things that we see today, we can see the similarities. Now, Robert F. Kennedy had a lot of courage. He's running for a Democratic nomination in 1968. And he was told after Martin Luther King was killed that, the police couldn't guarantee his safety. There was a lot of rioting that day. But he wanted to talk to the people in Indianapolis and try to allay their fears. And he was successful in doing that. So I'd like to share this with you. And in your own minds, think of the similarities that we can see today. Now, he mentions he wants the people to go home. There's no place like home, of course. Whether home is your hometown or where you end up is your home now, like in my case, my family here in North Olmsted is my home. It's their home. Now, they might go on somewhere else and build their home somewhere else. But when I drive around North Olmsted, and I think of the coronavirus, I've been lucky that it hasn't affected my family at all. But it just wells up inside me sometimes when I see the closed storefronts and the empty streets. And I think of this great country of ours and still being hopeful that it's going to come back, and it will for most of us. Unfortunately for some, it's not going to come out good, but I would like to share this with you. And in light of that, it's Robert F. Kennedy approached the microphone that night, April 4th, and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm only going to talk to you just for a minute or so this evening because I have some very sad news for all of you. Could you lower those campaign signs, please? I have some very sad news for all of you, and I think sad news for all of our fellow citizens and people who love peace all over the world. And that is that Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to love and to justice between fellow human beings. He died in the cause of that effort. In this difficult day, in this difficult time for the United States, it's perhaps well to ask what kind of a nation we are and what direction we want to move in. For those of you who are black, considering the evidence evidently is that there were white people who were responsible, you can be filled with bitterness and with hatred and a desire for revenge. We can move in that direction as a country in greater polarization, black people amongst blacks, white amongst whites, filled with hatred toward one another. Or we can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand and to comprehend and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that has spread across our land, with an effort to understand, compassion, and love. For those of you who are black and are tempted to be filled with hatred and mistrust of the injustice of such an act, I would only say that I can also feel in my own heart the same kind of feeling. I had a member of my family killed, but he was killed by a white man. But we have to make an effort in the United States. We have to make an effort to understand and to replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed. My favorite poet was Aeschylus, and he once wrote, "Even in our sleep, pain which cannot forget falls drop by drop upon the heart, until, in our own despair, against our will, comes wisdom through the awful grace of God." What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another, and a feeling of justice toward those who still suffer within our country, whether they be white or whether they be black. So I ask you tonight to return home, to say a prayer for the family of Martin Luther King. Yeah, it's true. But more importantly, to say a prayer for our own country, which all of us love, a prayer for understanding and that compassion which I spoke. We can do well in this country. We will have difficult times. We've had difficult times in the past, and we will have difficult times in the future. It is not the end of violence. It is not the end of lawlessness. It's not the end of disorder. But the vast majority of white people and the vast majority of black people in this country want to live together, want to improve the quality of their life, and want justice for all human beings that abide in our land. Let us dedicate ourselves to what the Greeks wrote so many years ago, to tame the savageness of man and make gentle the life of this world. Let us dedicate ourselves to that and say a prayer for our country and for our people. Thank you. Now I'd like to finish this off with a song you might remember. Again, excuse the technology here. Anybody here seen my old friend Martin? Can you tell me where he's gone? He freed a lot of people, but it seemed a good day die young. You know, I just looked around and he's gone. Didn't you love the things that they stood for? Didn't they try to find some good for you and me? And we'll be free someday soon. It's gonna be one day. Anybody here seen my old friend Bobby? Can you tell me where he's gone? I thought I saw him walking up over the hill with Abraham, Martin, and John. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.